All right. Thank you. So that was quite an introduction, so I can skip that part. I have to go over 20 years in 20 minutes, so that's quite a challenge. So I'm going to tell you today about not what I currently do, but about Gamebasics. And Gamebasics makes online soccer manager. And before I start, I'd like to know who of you have played it or heard about it. Yeah, almost everybody. That's great. So for those of you who don't know it, Gamebasics is best known for online soccer manager OSM, and it's a free-to-play mobile game in which you become the manager of your favorite football club. So you can manage Ajax, Feyenoord, Real Madrid, Liverpool, whatever you want, and you can play against your friends. And that's, I think, one of the most unique things about this game. You can see who is the best manager. But I can explain it with the words, but this video does a pretty good job of it as well. So I want to show you this. If it works. Yeah.
Football. It can be a beast. It will tear you to the ground. You're yesterday's headline. You've had your day. Loser is not a term to be taken lightly. Here's the reality. If you back down, you'll be forgotten. Pick yourself up. There's no glory in defeat, only lessons. Learn them, understand them, use them to lead your team to victory. Tame the game.
Use your skill to run a real club, play with real players, and challenge your friends. Online Soccer Manager. Play for free now by downloading the app.
All right, so now we're in the mood. So this game is very popular, and still is, actually. You can still download and play it. And at its height, it had 5 million monthly active users. And I estimate that around 200 to 300 million people have played this game during its lifespan. So it's really a lot. And of course, those people are not only in the Netherlands, in Belgium, for example, but also around the world. So you can see a world map here, and then you have to look at the green areas. That's where players of Online Soccer Manager are. And then you say, okay, that's the whole map, correct? So that's what world domination looks like. There are some areas where there's still some work to be done, like in Greenland and Mongolia. Maybe they don't have internet, I'm not sure. But in the other countries, you see a lot of OSM players. And then you have the light green areas, and that is where most of the players are. So Europe, of course, South America, and also the Middle East. But this is, of course, not how everything started. When I was younger, around 10 years old, I started developing games, and I was, frantically trying to create something memorable. And this is, an example of some of the stuff that I made that nobody remembers. It was, quite terrible, actually. And I tried and tried and tried and tried again and again and again. Small games, of course, but I learned from it, but there were no successes in any way until I created a game. It's in the top left corner, or right corner for me, for you left. That's called Avalon. I made it with my brother. It's an RPG, and we got around 200,000 downloads for that, and we won an award. So that encouraged me to keep trying and to keep going. And then I made this, and of course you can immediately see that this is much better, more beautiful, greater than everything I showed you before. Of course not. Graphics are not really my strong suit, but I was a football fan, and I wanted to play a game in which I could play against my friends, and I couldn't find one. And so I just decided to make one. This first version is very simple, but it worked, and it was on the web, which is a platform. At that time, we're talking about 2001, it was an emerging platform. Gaming was not common there. Large publishers were overlooking it. I was playing the first competitions with my friends, and they invited other friends, and that is how it grew in the beginning. And people were talking about it, for example, at a birthday, and then I was sitting next to them and I tried to, mingle in the conversation. They didn't even like it because they were talking about a game, not about a game that I made, and that's how, I found out that it was actually possible that it would be more popular than just my friends. But how popular it would become, of course, I had no idea. And in that first phase, this is actually the server that I had, and I lived with my parents still, and the server was just an old computer under the stairs. And the game, became quite popular at that point. Hundreds of people were playing that. So, in the end, my parents couldn't internet anymore, so they were not too happy with me. And I even have to stop the entire operation for a while because I couldn't afford better hosting, or I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to close stop have it just for a few people. I wanted to grow it, but it didn't work, so I decided to quit. But I did put a sign on there saying if you don't like it, maybe you can help. And someone actually called me, a company called GamePoint. They still exist in The Hague, are doing also very well, and they helped me out with a server. And that is how the first crisis got averted. So I got help from someone in the industry, and that's also a reason why I currently try to help others. And then, of course, I realized I was doing everything myself at that point, and I thought I need some help. And I found my brother and my neighbor, because my network was really big, and they were, enthusiastic. They wanted to help me out. So the three of us started the company, and we bought an office, or we hired an office, of course. And this is not the office, because this is the prison in Zoetermeer, where I live. And why do we show the prison? Well, our office was just next to the prison. And that was not the most inspiring place to be. But yeah, we had to start somewhere, and we made all the mistakes that you can imagine. We thought we were a game studio, so we had to make multiple games. We made 4, 5, 6 more games, like an entrepreneurial manager, Plaza Challenge, Match of the Week, National Team Manager. So we were doing a lot of stuff, and in the end we had 5 games with 5 people, which is, of course, these are live service games, you have to keep them alive. And just 1 person per game is not sustainable. So we were not doing very well at that time. And it got so bad, actually, that my co-founders, we were almost out of money. And at around 2009, so that's 8 years since I started OSM, it was so bad that we again had a question: can we continue this? Can we continue our studio? And something had to change. And at that point, we said, okay, we know that OSM is a good game. We know that it can be popular. At that point, it was already quite popular in the Netherlands, but outside of the Netherlands, there was no traction at all. And that was actually what we wanted to achieve. And we said, okay, we have to stop with all the other stuff. We just want to focus on OSM, try to make that a success. And as soon as we did that, actually it paid off immediately. We did translations, for example. We made an Arabic version. That's also why I show you the Arabic picture here. That has no relevance whatsoever with the game. But that was not easy, because Arabic is also, you write from right to left, of course, and not from left to right. So we had to mirror the entire app for that. But then we saw that success was coming. We also did payment methods, etc., in other countries. All our efforts could focus on this one game, and actually that was for us the changing factor. We also improved our free-to-play model. In the Arabic world, of course, we knew that there were people willing to pay more for a game. We just had to make it possible that they did that. And we also didn't want to make the game pay to win, so we had to find a balance in that. I think we found a very good balance at that point. And wanted to make enough money, of course, for the studio to thrive and not go bankrupt. So at this point, we were doing well, and another big boost in our numbers came in 2012 when we launched our first apps. Until then, it was a web company only. So we had a website, people could play the game there. But in 2012, we made a mobile Android and iPhone version. And within 2 years, we saw the entire player base shift to mobile. Of course, now everybody knows about that, and it seems very obvious, but at that time, it was a big gamble for us to do that. And yeah, now it's a mobile company. It's no longer a web company. If we didn't do that, we would have died. So there's a big competitor of us, Hattrick, maybe some of you know it. They didn't actually die, but they were like decimated. So they were the largest football management game in the world, and they didn't make a mobile version, and that hurt them a lot. And as you can see, again, an emerging platform at that point was a major growth driver for us. And doing better, and at this point we already had like millions of players. With this growth, we could do amazing things, like this football stadium office that we built. We had a stand there, we had a players tunnel, we had an actual goal, and it was a very unique workplace and great for everybody who worked at our studio. And of course, you'd think, okay, this is the success story, everything going great, but no. At this point, around 2014, we are now. It was the best year we ever had as a studio, but also the scariest, because we got several cease and desist letters in that year. Why was that? Clubs and leagues. So we were talking about football. So there were, real player names and logos, or real player names and club logo names in our game. And yeah, the clubs, they didn't like that. So they started to sue us, and they demanded payment because we were, risen above ground level now. And at first I was super scared of this. I thought it was all over. I thought, okay, now I need, hundreds of millions, and I don't have that. But we found a way to see it as an opportunity. We thought by ourselves, okay, what if we approach these clubs instead of that they approach us with a lawsuit? We are just going to talk to them and say, yeah, we want to use your rights, and maybe you can pay money for that. We found a lawyer that could help us really good with that. And that's actually what we achieved. So you see here, there's a lot of leagues and a lot of clubs, and there's a lot of that in the world. So it was quite a task to do all this. And I needed to go around the world. So here you see me at Fiorentina. And I needed to make deals. And getting football rights is not easy. And not only do you need money, but you also need to know who to pay. In some cases, this is the league. In other cases, this is an association, a club, or even an individual player in some cases. It's tricky and stressful, and I think without that lawyer, we wouldn't have found the right people to pay. And of course, we didn't manage to get all of the licenses in the whole world, but we got a decent amount. So, for example, of course, the Eredivisie, which I was very proud of, the Belgian league, Jupiler Pro League, it was called then. I'm not sure how it's called now, actually, but we got that one as well. And, we went to Italy, Portugal, France, Germany. So we were all over the place, and we could also use photos and logos, actually, from that point on. So we could enhance the game as well. So it was, instead of a huge threat, it became an opportunity, and we could build the game and the studio further. And what do you get then? Then you get a bigger studio, you get more people. At that point, we were around 30, 35 people. And actually, for me, it was not that much fun anymore, because I like to work on the game. And I would like to work, think of new ideas and execute on those ideas. And if you have a company around 30 people, what you need to do is make sure that the people that work there, that they do a good job, and that you facilitate them, help them. It's not good if you mingle with their expertises. So I experienced that firsthand a couple of times, changing something in the game on a Friday night, and then on Monday everybody was, really mad at me. And that's strange because I was a director, right? So I thought, okay, maybe this is a point where I can sell the company, and maybe grow it further also with a bigger studio, right? So if you have multiple games, you can maybe grow the studio even more, and that was at least my idea. And here you see a team picture actually from one of our, we went to, in this case, Paris Saint-Germain with a lot of team members, and this is a tradition that still holds. But I thought, okay, this is I've got the most of this adventure, and I want to sell it. But that didn't exactly happen overnight. These are a few companies. I think most of these companies are very well known to you, which were very close in, buying Gamebasics. Unfortunately, and fortunately, of course, because spoiler, it was sold. But these stocks were not successful. And sometimes, on the very last moment, they failed. And I have to say for stupid reasons. So, for example, football rights are scary. And they said, yeah, we don't want to do that. And I think, okay, maybe you can think about that. The first minute you try to buy a football company. But okay, it was very stressful because, when you're in a period like that, you are working towards that deal. And you want to be part of, let's say, Take-Two Interactive. You're already imagining yourself there. And you're months doing all those talks, etc. And then at some point they say, okay, just leave it, or they do a bid that is too low, and then you cannot go on. So it was very stressful, and because of that also, I decided to take matters into my own hand. I wanted to do something else at that point. I thought, okay, and in 2017 I actually resigned as a CEO, and I passed it on to a management team, and they continued to sell the company. And also for them, it was very hard. So I'm not sure, maybe I mentioned this, but it took 7 years to eventually sell the company. And in 2021, finally, we managed to do it during the Corona pandemic. It was acquired by Miniclip. It's still a Miniclip company in Zoetermeer. The studio has grown even more since it was acquired. So when I left, there were around 50 people. And currently, I think they're above 90, so it's growing. They're now creating new games again, so I think that's very nice. A Football Head Coach is one of their new titles that was fully developed also in Zoetermeer, and it's very successful. It's about American football, so another sport, but in the same, it's a management game. And OSM is also still around, so I would encourage everybody to download it and play it. It's still a lot of fun with your friends. All right, so last but not least, after the sale, I read a book. I have it here. It's about this story. It has a lot more details, a lot more lessons, a lot more failures, key decisions, negotiations, events that happened while building the Gamebasics. It's in Dutch, so yeah, you have to be Dutch or you have to translate it. I'm still working on the English translation. It's in the bookstores, but I have a couple of free copies with me for anyone who's interested. There's also a QR code on the screen if you want to look it up. And yeah, even if I say so myself, I highly recommend you reading this. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Jeroen. Does anybody have any questions who might potentially be in the book, but you can ask?
Hi, Jeroen. Great talk. I'm an IP lawyer, actually, and I'm wondering, how do you guys handle portrait rights clearance? So football clubs, they pretty much stay the same, right? But players, obviously, they retire, new players come up. So that's thousands and thousands of players, like every year. How do you manage that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I wish there was a simple answer, but if you look at the easy countries, so for example the Netherlands, then there is like a contract that every player signs that gives the right to, in this case, an association, to sell those rights again to, for example, a game. And then the portrait rights are in that. But for example, there's a highly, you have like a FIF Pro also, which is the big organization, a player association, which also sells the rights, and there is like some, let's say, doubt if that is really, legally holds. But nobody has challenged it, so yeah, then it holds. And there's a lot of countries where it's not that easy and not that well documented how you should do it. So, for example, in Brazil, we also try to get some rights over there. And there you have to, basically, if you want to do it 100% legally correct, you have to go visit every player and make a contract with them. That is not doable. So then we just still, contact the club And if a player asks to be removed, then of course we will remove that player if it's legally correct. So, but you have to be practical. Yeah. So it's also, I think, a lot of this is a trial and error and experience also from the people involved. So we have a lawyer as well that knows a lot of this, and also which risk we can take and cannot take, and so far it's going really well in that respect.
What did you do after you left the company?
Yeah, I started another startup. So in aviation, actually, I created an app for airline crew to better view their roster on the go, which was not my idea, but my co-founder actually. I did it together with a co-founder, and for me that was a great second stage, because it was a smaller company again with a few people. I was again stamping the mill and doing all kinds of small things, growing the app, thinking of new features. It was very close. It was not gaming, but it was very close to it because it was an app. And I had a lot of fun building a company again from scratch. Currently, I'm not doing that, so I'm not going to build companies from scratch forever, right? But it was also nice because even though I had a lot of attempts before with games to try to make a game, it still felt like, oh, I'm just it's just a lucky shot, right? And then building another company and selling that as well made it less a lucky shot.
Any more questions? Yeah.
You talked briefly about not wanting pay to win. Could you explain a bit more how you achieved that?
Yeah, sure. I think that it was constantly something that was discussed within the company by the employees as well. I think most of the employees wanted to create a free game, and then the problem was only how do you earn a salary, right? So that's a discussion that we frequently had. I was, of course, on the money side, saying, okay, we should do something about earning money, otherwise I cannot pay your salaries. And the developers were like, yeah, but we don't want pay to win, so we have to cancel it out completely. So in the end, what we did is we found like a middle ground where we did allow for some people to spend on the game and also have some advantages in the game with that spending. But what we saw is we create a management game, of course. And we have a lot of data on what happens. So we collected that all the time. And then we analyzed what happens with people who pay a lot. And actually, they are not doing so well because they're lazy. They don't want to spend the time. So that what they do is then they spend the money. And if you look at OSM, how it's built, it's like one season iterations every time. So you have a team, you have to bring it to the top in one season, and then you start a new season. So even if you buy a lot of players, at next season you have to start over with that again. So and we did some matchmaking, of course, so that people that spend a lot, meet other people that spend a lot. And in this way, we could minimize the trouble that you could have with this kind of behavior, that people spend a lot on the game, that you think, okay, this is not fair anymore. So I think that those measures helped a lot. Currently, I'm of course not an owner anymore of the company. I hope they keep that philosophy. I think they're a bit more on the marketing side right now. So I hope they will get that balance better. But yeah, I think it's super important for the long term. If you don't, you can of course grab all the money you can get, but then the players are fed up with it. And this is a game that is around now for 24 years. So if it should exist for another 24 years, we should really, whoever owns it should be really careful with that.
I'm one of the translators for Sorari, the football fantasy game.
Right.
How do you see that? Because they have basically the same as you do, but they give out money, Bitcoin, trips to football events, all that sort of thing. Is that something you really wanted to avoid? Or would you say, okay, that would have been a new era for my game?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not. I should create now a new game, of course, when the non-compete is over, right? Because I've sold it. But I think you can approach it in a lot of ways. And if people like this kind of game, then let's do it. But I think for OSM, the intention was always to appeal to football fans very broadly, and it's not like it's not gambling. It's not. Going for, you don't have to look at the real matches to get results in OSM. It's just, with your friends, see who the best manager is. And you don't need to, and that's reward enough. So I think the game has proven that it works, right? Hundreds of millions have played it. So I don't think there's no need for things like that you mentioned.
Okay, let's give one more time a big round of applause to Jeroen.